Greetings everyone, and thanks so much for viewing this fourth part of our tutorial on making Wargame terrain from broken toys. You can see we've progressed quite a ways. Our ground and chassis are all textured. Now we're going to add just some finishing touches on a few select colors. We're going to do gray, we're going to do black, and we're probably going to do a little bit of, well, we're going to do a ton of rust when the time comes. So just a little bit of quick color theory when you're painting a model. It's a good rule of thumb that if you're going to use a color on a model, it should appear in at least 3 places to prevent it from looking out of place and people wondering like why that color is there. So what we're going to do, we're going to start with gray, like a basic steel color. And we are going to paint 4 objects gray. We are going to paint this grill in the back. We will paint this old exhaust pipe. We will paint the engine block gray, and we're going to paint the face of the lights gray. This way, you'll see gray in several points on the model. We're going to use the same steps that we've been using. We're going to base coat it. We're going to shade with a watered down black paint, and then we're going to dry brush with a very light gray. I'll speed the film up so you won't have to wait for the whole process, and we'll go from there. All right. Next, we're going to do the same thing with black paint. And for black, we're going to do the gun, the steering wheel, and we're going to do this roll bar in the front. I think we're also going to do these bars that are part of the frame of the vehicle. We're going to do those too. All right, we're going to let this dry, and then we're going to do our shading and dry brushing for those two colors, and we'll be right back. All right, the base coats have dried, so now it's time for us to do some shading. Fortunately, with the black, you can't actually shade black. That's about as dark as it gets. So all we have to do for shading is just going to be the gray. Normally, you would use a black to shade gray or a very dark gray, but this has been out in the elements for a while, and so I want this to look more dirty than dark. So I'm actually going to use another one of these washes. This is a mud-colored wash that Citadel makes. Again, you could also just use brown paint and have the same effect. So what we're going to do is we're just going to paint our wash in on our gray pieces, and after we get that taken care of, then we're going to go on to some highlighting. So I'll just speed the film up for us. That'll take care of the shading. And while that's drying, I think we're going to do a little bit of dry brushing for the black. And we're going to use the same gray paint that we used for the engine and this muffler. And we're just going to bring out the details on the gun as well as on this steering wheel here. We're going to work there also. So we're just going to do a bit of dry brushing. We're going to get our gray paint out. And we're going to get our dry brushing towel handy. While we're waiting for our wash to dry, we're going to do some dry brushing and some gray on our gun and on our steering wheel and on this little front grill object right here. And, you know, I was trying to use some of the gray paint that came with that tester set, but it wasn't really thick enough for a good dry brush. So we're just going to mix some things up while we're going. I'm just going to go gather some more of this cream colored stuff, and I also have a little bit of black here, and we're going to mix in our palette. It's almost time for me to wash this palette out, I think. We'll just do a little tiny bit of white, and then a really tiny bit of black, because the tiniest little bit of black is going to be more than enough to. So rather than overwhelm it, I'm just going to get a little dollop like that, which should be more than enough. And once you start mixing it in, it doesn't take long. Yeah, I found that when you do, well, they call it tint when you mix something with white. And a lot of times when you use white, it bleaches out your color and it fades. But cream usually gives you something that's a little bit richer. So I like that. I like that a bit better. All right, so now we're going to dry brush with this, I think. Yeah, it's a much better consistency. Yeah, this acrylic has more of a buttery consistency than a liquid one. So we're just going to get this out of the way. We're going to get our work back over here. And we're just going to drag this across the some of the detail. Oh, that's much better. That's more like what we wanted. And generally, when you're doing something on the reverse side of where the light tends to hit, I mean, this gun is at an angle that most of the light is going to hit this facing side. as opposed to this side that's sort of in shadow. So we'll dry brush just enough to bring the details out of the black. But our primary dry brushing surface is going to be this upper part here. We're going to pay special attention to the edges and the high points. And we'll do the same thing across the top of just the top. That'll work. And we're also going to need to do this for our engine. And actually, I think we're going to wait until that's not fully dry on the engine. We'll do the steering wheel next. Okay, that was a really, really heavy dry brush, so we're just going to take that before it dries. Might have to repaint that. That's a little bit too light on that. And the idea behind overemphasizing these contrasts is related to the fact that most of the time you'll be seeing this piece from 3 or more feet away. So even if you overemphasize details a bit, also kind of helps it blend in a little bit more with the front of the Jeep here. You can see that it's, yeah, I like the way that looks. All right, so we're just going to wait for this to dry, and I think I may do another coat of paint just on the steering wheel here. And yeah, we'll revisit that once all of that is dry. Now that the washers are dry, we're going to finish up with a little bit of dry brushing just to finish off on the gray pieces, and then it'll be time for us to start on the rust effects. So the next step is going to be to do rust effects, but that's going to take a sufficiently long time that I think we'll probably just cut this video out right here. And this is as far as we are for part 3. Okay.